Okay. So yes, today we are till now we had just discussed about the yes, till now we had just discussed about the ascending tracts, and in the last part of my discussion, in last part of my discussion, I had just discussed about the ascending tracts. We had just tried to see the number of the three order neurons which are present at the different levels, how they are working, what are their functions. So it was a brief overview after the lecture. So today onward, we are going to discuss about the descending tracts of the spinal cord. So before moving to that, I just want to again make you aware about the similar structures which are just here. Uh, so yesterday we had discovered all of this blue marked level, and we had also seen the classification of the gray matter, and also tried to classification of the gray matter. We came to know about the anterior funiculus, lateral funiculus, and your posterior funiculus, basically. So now in the today's session, I'll be just discussing those whole structures, the remaining ones, which are just present inside this white matter and the different funiculus of the white matter. Basically, in the case of the descending matters, descending tracts, we are having the number of the neuronal fibers, which are just, before moving to the any tract, able to define what a tract is. Tract is a specific group of the, neurons which are going to share, from one origin, and they are going to terminate at a one single, specific point and to perform similar kind of the function. So that's the more or less about thing about the tract. So after that, we are moving on to the corticospinal tracts first. So in the case of the corticospinal tracts, you can see as uska naam hi bata raha hai beta, please just make it very much clear. It is starting from the cortex. Okay. Now, why there is a need for descending tract? Actually, whenever there is any sensation which is going to be persisting with any kind of sensation, whether you are sitting, you are feeling hot, cold, or you are feeling certain amount of pain, so in response to that stimuli, there is a certain amount of action that is needed by the, and that action is going to be regulated or in response to the stimulus, so that we can just try to safeguard ourselves if there is any harmful kind of stimulus. So in that case scenario, we need a certain safety procedure, safety measure, okay, from that thing. Any of the response, okay, whether we can just see that I was asking you again and again whether I'm audible or not, and you people responded me. So that response is also coming from the my stimulus which I was just trying to provide you, that are you able to see me or not. And I was just talking with my table students, and they had just responded by typing with their hands. Is this whole things are working through these descending tracts only. Okay, so that's why they are very much important. So how they are working, okay. So in the case of the tracts, we are having the number of we are having a in the case of the cortex, we are having a primary sensory cortex, we are having the second primary motor cortex. Okay, and on that basis we had divided, on the basis of the function, we had divided the brain into the number of the segments of the number of the areas, like numerical areas. Okay, so if I say the primary sensory cortex is going to be regarded as area 312, but in the case of the motor sensory cortex, we are having the area number 4, 6, and mild part from the area 8 as well. So that is going to be discussed later on in further detail. So for right now onwards, you just make a note that they are going to be starting from the cortex, and there will be certain specific part which are which are happening in response to that stimuli which they got from the ascending pathways. If I just draw ascending pathway for you, let me say from and there is a pain which is just going to be coming, and it is going to be relaying at your dorsal root ganglion, and from that dorsal root ganglion it is going to again synapsing at the level of the substantia gelatinosa, and from here onwards your second neurons are going to be starting. So if I just draw that second order neuron in the basically the green color, and it is going to be passing through this anterior gray commissure, and then it is going to be passing through your spinothalamic tracts. And from here onwards, at the level of the just medulla, it is going to be converted into the your spinal lemniscus. Now, what is a lemniscus? Beta lemniscus ka naam hai, it is like a band or a group of neurons that are acting as a band. So it is going to pass through the brain, and it is going to be concluded at the ventroposterolateral nucleus of the thalamus. Okay, now from here onward, this information is going to be spread out to the your sensory cortex through this through the thalamic radiations, which are acting as the third order neurons. Okay, so to a certain extent, these corticospinal tract which I am talking about, that there are the number of the fibers which are coming from the cortex, which are going to be providing information or information how to regulate, how to respond to the different stimuli at different levels of the brain. The spinal cord are going to be coming from the cortex only. So there will be one such connection in between this area number 3, 1 and 2. Okay, and then there are certain fibers which are either present in the different different areas of the brain, as well as we are having the primary cortex, primary motor cortex, which is going to be area number 4 and 8, and your premotor area, that is your area number 6. And from there, these fibers are going to be coming. Now there are a number of fibers which are traveling downwards. Okay. Now these, some of us call them, pyramidal tracts, extrapyramidal tracts. So actually, the thing is that this terminology is not being used by the modern day neuroanatomists. So some of us are still using them, representing that the descending tracts which are having origin from the cortex, they are going to be termed as your pyramidal ones, and the tracts which are having the origin from the brain stem, actually they are going to be called as the extrapyramidal ones. That's the thing, but nowadays there is a differentiation point of view, and all are using it differently. Okay, so if I say, let me start from the corticospinal tract. Actually, it's already been done in your lecture, so I'll be just telling you again, very basic review. So it is going to be originating from the primary motor cortex, then the secondary motor cortex, and the parietal lobe. Some author do say it is also coming from the supplementary motor cortex, number 8. Okay, so from here onwards, and even IB Singh is just giving you percentage how these fibers are coming, and from the area 4, it is like approximately 30% of the fibers, and from the area 6, like 30% again, and the rest of the the somatosensory area, your remaining like 40% fibers are coming from there, and some few fibers are also coming from area number 8 as well. So that's not required at your level right now. So these are going to pass through the corona radiata, and then they are going to cross the internal capsule. Then they are going to just coming into the midbrain, and through midbrain to the pyramid of the medulla, and from the medulla downwards it becomes the corticospinal tract. So if I say now, please just try to see these things will be covered in the upcoming sessions of the brainstem. So you don't need to worry about them right now. So okay, so please just try to understand what is corona radiata. Actually, उसका नाम ही बड़ा है. These are the crown-shaped radiations which are just present, and they are acting as association fibers. They are going to connect different parts of the brain basically. So in those connections, these neurons are just traveling. These fibers of the axons are traveling towards the this is the region of your internal capsule. Can you see this? This is the internal capsule here. This is the thalamus. This is the third ventricle. These are the lateral ventricles. This is the corpus callosum. Okay, this is your internal capsule. Now this internal capsule is acting as a connection, a pathway through which your number of fibers are descending downwards towards the your midbrain. Just midbrain यहाँ present होता है बेटा, और midbrain का anteriorly we are having the crus cerebralis, which are just acting as the pillars, and through which this number of fibers are going to be moving downwards. Okay, so yeah, the initial lines, in those initial lines it has been mentioned like that. Now from here onwards they are just going to pass the pawns and they are just going to entering the pyramid. Now pyramid, what is this pyramid? And they are not called as pyramid because of this pyramid. Okay, so don't confuse this thing with that. Okay, so this is the pyramid where the fibers are decussating. Okay, where the actually this these fibers are coming from the pyramidal cells of the cerebral cortex, and they just actually deposit level of the pyramid of the medulla oblongata, and these are happening anteriorly. And on the anterior aspect, you can see that there's a bulge which is going to be present here, and this bulging is just acting due to this crossover of the fibers. Now I just want to add one thing here before moving to the corticospinal. There are certain fibers or the tracts that are known as the corticobulbar fibers. Okay, so those are the fibers which are corticobulbar fibers, or the tracts which are just going to be um, is the corticobulbar one, which are going to ending at the pons and the medulla levels. So that will be corticobulbar fiber, mainly the pons one. Okay, so through this corticopontomedulla, corticopontocerebellar fibers, there are a number of the fibers which are just going to end in this region only, and there are a number of the cranial nerve nucleus which the fibers are also ending. Okay, so there is a a connection of the cortex with the brainstem at this level only, and obviously this connection is also going to be running up to the spinal cord level. So now we're going to see how it is going to be concerned with the spinal cord. So at the level of the medulla, what is happening? These fibers are going to decussate. They are going to crossing to the contralateral or the opposite side. If I say as you all know, if there is a basically suppose let me say if there is a pain or a, kind of a prick sensation from the right side, so actually it was moving on the left side of the brain. Okay, but and in the similar aspect from this left side, now just try to understand this thing. This if I say the sensory pathway was starting from here, this is the first order, this will be the second order, and from here onwards it is going to be ending at the level of the thalamus, and from the thalamus thalamic junction it is going to end on the right side if there is an injury on the left side. Okay, so whenever you are going to be asked about the tract tracing, or just trace the tract, or do that kind of exercises, so you should keep this thing in mind. So from here onwards you can see here, um, from the same side that response is going to be coming. Okay, from the same side the response is going to be coming from the same side of the cortex basically, and this is going to be the level of the medulla oblongata, just at the level of pyramid. Okay, so यहाँ से बेटा आपका क्या नाम है, it is going to be decussating. Now the the fibers which are coming from the as a corticospinal tract, uh, they are like 80%, 80 to 85% of the fibers are going to cross over. They are going to cross over to the opposite side, and then they are going to follow a route directly. Then they are going to have a lateral kind of route, and they are going to pass downwards, and then they are going to end in the level of your interneurons, and last at the alpha motor neurons. Okay, so that is the ending. And from here onwards, these alpha motor neurons are going to carry, and they are going to carry the function in the form of the your spinal nerves, and they are going to cause certain amount of contraction, whatever movement is needed. So that's how they are going to working. And apart from that, the remaining, these are the remaining 20 to 20% of the fibers which are just going to possess way downwards, and they are also going to be decussated, but they are decussating at the through this anterior gray commissure to the ventral horn, and from here onwards it is going to end and synapse with the lower motor neuron, that is the alpha and the gamma motor neurons. Whatever kind of action is needed, they are going to regulate. Okay, so that is basically the main amount of the focus that is going to be needed through these pathways. I hope you understand this thing. Now these were, regarding the, information regarding the corticospinal tracts. They are also known as the pyramidal tracts. They are going to control rapid, scaled, non-postural, voluntary movements. Especially the distal end of the limbs, basically your hands, scaled movements you are doing with the hands. So they are going to be regulated. That's why there is an enlargement. That's why there is a large number of the fibers which are present inside your cervical region. In the case of the cervical enlargement, because a number of skilled movements are required at your hand level. Whenever we are going to see the segmentation of the body at the level of the cerebral cortex, we'll see how large amount of area of the hand is going to be covered at the sensory cortex, and how large amount of the area is going to be regulated through that. Okay, so that's why cervical enlargement was there. And now, gives access to the cerebral cortex, basal nuclei, red nucleus. These are the, corticobulbar ones, which are just going to give, and in between, and rest are going to be moving downwards. After that, we just see that, in the case of the midbrain, can you see this is the midbrain? So just behind this substantia nigra, this dark stained structure, we are having the red nucleus. Actually, it was present in the upper level. This is the lower level section, basically. So at the level of the upper superior colliculus, you can see, at the level of the inner colliculus, you can see the red nucleus, which is going to be present. So through this red nucleus, actually, there are the number of the fibers which are going to, traveling up till the cervical region of your spinal cord in the form of the rubrospinal tracts. Now, again, this is very much simpler. They are just going to crossing over from here, and actually they are also receiving the sensation from the cortex, from the corticobulbar fibers. And from here onward, they are going to have a separate kind of the pathway apart from the corticospinal tracts, and they are going to move downwards, and they are going to supply this very specific region in the cervical, in the cervical spine to, in the cervical, level of the spinal cord, to supply the flexor. Actually, they are facilitating this, flexor muscles, and they are going to innervate the extensor muscles of the upper limb. So that's how they are going to regulating the very specific, kind of the functions. Actually, the pathway is going to be much simpler. So they are going to start, if I say this is the right side, from the right side, they are just decusating this very level. And from this decussation, they are just going to move downward, lateral aspect of the spinal cord, and then they are going to ending at your, this ventral horn. Now, this is more or less about the rubrospinal we had already done. So now we are moving on to the reticulospinal, the extrapyramidal ones, so which are just originating from the brainstem and the different parts of the brainstem actually. So we are starting with the reticulospinal tract. So in the last section, I thought I had discussed about the reticular formation. So reticular formation is nothing but just the, whenever the ascending tract is going upward, so in between it is going to give some twigs. Twigs of the info, through those twigs or the branches, it is going to provide a sounding information, side by side information to the brainstem as well, that what's going in downward. Okay, so that's how it is just working. That's how this neuronal circuitry is working. So on that behalf, there are certain connections which are coming back from those reticular networks downward as well in the form of the reticulospinal tracts. Okay, so again, these are just the functions. So please just make a note of this, and this certainly several they are going to be asked. So they are going to innervate or facilitate the voluntary movement. They are working in either way. If on the basis of response, whatever response they're taking up through the reticular formation through the ascending part. Okay, then we are having the tectospinal tracts. They are just going to just see about the reflex and the postural movement of the neck, basically concerning the visual stimuli. आप कुछ देख रहे हो उसके हिसाब से आप गर्दन अपनी fold कर रहे हो, side bend कर रहे हो, so that's all going to be regulated by that only. Okay, and that's tectospinal one. Then we are having the vestibular spinal tract. Now, this vestibulospinal tract, I just want to add some point here. This vestibulospinal tracts are basically of two types. Okay, that one is your medial vestibular spinal tract, and is your lateral vestibular spinal tract. This you'll be going to learn when you are seeing the sectional anatomy at the brainstem level. You'll come to know that there are the two vestibular nuclei. That's one is your lateral one is your medial one. So the vestibular spinal tract, so the number of the fibers which are coming from the lateral nucleus are going to be called as the lateral vestibular spinal tract, and actually they never cross, they are just moving directly downwards. Okay, and they are just going to enter your alpha motor neuron, and they are just going to facilitate the extensors. They are going to facilitate the extensors, and basically your medial vestibular spinal tract, they are they are just cross upper level of the membrane, जैसे निकला वैसे ही crossing over हो गया, and then they are going to reach to the alpha motor neurons, basically the upper cervical region, and they are going to regulate function as the turning of the head movement. So this is how they are going to be working. Then we are having the descending autonomic fibers. They are going to control sympathetic and the parasympathetic systems. That's not going to be discussed right now. Actually, that's not needed actually. So I think these are the smaller ones which need to be discussed. Apart from that, just look at this. This is actually for the descending tract. Yes. What are the upper motor neuron lesions? So several times it is going to be discussed. So the lesion of corticospinal tract, कोई भी lesion है, just which are happening prior to the anterior, before this alpha motor here horn. Okay, before just whatever lesion is happening to the corticospinal tract, that is going to be counted as the upper motor neuron lesion. And any lesion, this extrapyramidal is also going to be included in that only. Okay, so ऊपर अगर हो रहा है तो कोई भी anterior horn से ऊपर अगर आपकी injury हो रही है, any injury, that is considered to be your upper motor neuron lesion. And the lesion which is just present after that, through this anterior horn के बाद बाहर जो भी neuronal injury हो रही है, that is going to be included in the form of your lower motor neuron lesions. Now, this Babinski sign, actually it is a response which is going to be, actually this is going to be done in your physiology part, so you can just have a small overview only. So that's all about for the today. I hope people understand some parts of the discussion regarding the descending tract, and I'm open for discussion. If any doubts, you can just ask me, and you can take my number from table 7 students as well. So we can discuss that also. If you have any certain doubts, so please thank you for attending the session, and I am just ending the session. Thank you for attending. Like 194 students were there. I hope you people understood this. Okay, thank you.